Students, it's time to return to the hallowed halls of Lakers Fast Break University. It is the Dean of All Studies, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate you being here. And a big special shout out to our membership students, part of the Lakers Fast Break, Alpha, Sigma, Pi, whatever Greek words you want to add on to it, as far as our awesome individuals that are part of our membership program. Please go ahead and give a shout out to students such as Samir, JSJ, Kurt Affair, Darren, Sports Baby, Richard, Bloodhound, and Xbox. Please go ahead and give them a big hand. If you can, you can become a member too for just $2.99 a month. You get special badges given to you for the longer you stay and become a member. Emojis of all of us on the panels, and also as well big shout outs from all of us. We're still trying to think of some more cool things to bring up for you guys, and we'll hopefully be able to send that out to you in the next few days for you members. But yes, please go ahead and join us today for $2.99 a month. And speaking of great things that you could be a part of, also want to go ahead and give a big shout out to John Costa, Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner, of course, our good friend Empire Jeff TV talking about the Dodgers. Also, so Lakers in 5. John McKaylian channel. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Yo, the Lakerholics crew at Lakerholics.com. All these great associates of ours, the hallowed halls of Lakers Fast Break University. Please like and subscribe, but also make sure you like and subscribe. Leave that thumbs up. Leave those comments, get those algorithms going, because Lakers Fast Break University would be indebted to you because you'll be a part of what we do right here at Lakers Fast Break University and the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Well, today was a Woj Bomb of all Woj Bombs, as Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN announced he is leaving ESPN to return to his alma mater, St. Bonaventure University, the Bonnies, to become their general manager of basketball operations. And in doing so, I thought, how has the Lakers been entwined with his career in regards to some of the things that he has tweeted out there, some of the Woj bombs that have been so instrumental in his career? The scoops that only he got, and he got first. Well, today, Professor Soro, Joe Soro, and I are going to be talking about a couple of those. One that's very near and dear to Joe's heart, and one that's very near and dear to many of you out there in regards to two of his biggest Woj bombs ever. And here today to discuss those Woj bombs and anything else he wants to discuss is an outstanding professor of our faculty indeed. Please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and check out what he's doing today at LakersBall.com. It's Oxide 47. And of course, the company that he owns, Symblates with a Y.com. It is Professor Joe Soro. And Professor, good to have you here. Adrian Wojnarowski, first off, foremost, whether you liked him, disliked him, whether you thought it was, the way he dealt with the handling of news and this kind of now type of atmosphere. We got to have the news as fast as possible. Whatever you want to say about Adrian Wojnarowski, whether you liked him or hate him, Joe, he was a part of our basketball culture for many years.
Well, it's not a surprise that he quit because the NBA took away two of the biggest assets they had besides players, and that is free agency and the trade deadline excitement. The NBA decided to take two of the major occurrences during the year in which they owned every sport in, and decided to flush it down the toilet for, I'm still wondering what reason. For equality? For players to stay with the teams that draft them? Why is that important? Why does that matter? I'm still kind of puzzled by that. Why is it important to have players drafted by the, I don't know, Toronto Raptors stay in Toronto? Like, I don't understand why is that more important than being excited for a week, being glued to the laptops and the desktops and the cell phones and the sports forums and the X's and Twitters and all that, and following Woj and Shams and all those guys? Why was that so bad for the NBA to where they took it away, only to have now Adrian go back to his alma mater? And it's admirable that he says he's tired of dealing with the 24/7 news cycle or whatever it is that he was doing. But I think if he was being honest, he would say that the times before are gone. Am I wrong? Is anybody not noticing this? Am I the only one that's noticing it?
No, there was a change in the NBA culture in itself that caused a lot of the things that he did and that he got out in front from are now preventing him from doing so.
And it's a sad thing, because that's, other than the actual games, the big games, they had the draft to, let's say, July 15th, pretty much all on their side. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, because I thought it was a very exciting time for basketball. I enjoyed being online for that month, and we were robbed of that due to, again, I don't know why the NBA has this full court press on making sure guys stay with their current teams. I just don't get it. I don't know why that matters. And Woj is number one in that category. If there was a Mount Rushmore for news break guys, he's going to be the guy that's probably sitting in the George Washington part of Mount Rushmore. And end of an era is an understatement. It's an end of an excitement. It's an end of what looks like, it's going to look like the NFL trade deadline now in the NBA.
Oh,
And
dear God, help us
we all
all.
know how useless. I don't even know why they have a deadline
Yeah.
in the NFL, to be honest with you. But the NBA decided, yeah, let's be like the NFL on the one thing you are killing the NFL in. I can't believe no one has asked this question. Would they let me in the media room to ask Adam Silver that question?
I think he would be a little bit vague. He'd probably throw out smaller market teams at you, as far as using that as an excuse, as far as small market teams being able to compete with the larger market teams, and having the CBA being a benefit of that. Because that's all I've heard, as far as constantly beaten into my head over the past decade or so, is that small market teams continuing to whine about how they cannot compete with the larger market teams unless something is done to even the playing field financially, Joe.
How long are we going to continue to hear this redundant, overused pile of crap, especially in the NBA? So let's educate everyone on the markets. New York, LA. Who's number 3? No one ever remembers number 3.
What would you ascertain it
Is
to
it
be?
Houston?
Chicago?
Houston or
Oh,
Chicago?
Houston. I'd say Chicago and then Houston. Houston, as far as one of the fastest growing cities over the past
So
2
let's
decades.
look at the two out of the top 5 markets. Boston's the other one. 2 of the top 5 markets. How well has Chicago and New York done since 1999? I'll tell you. No finals appearances. Let's see. I think the Chicago Bulls went to 1 Eastern Conference Finals. New York has not gone past the second round. So, what's their excuse? Why isn't anyone wanting to go to New York? Why is no one wanting to go to Chicago? See, what they need to stop doing is they need to stop talking. See, here's where I draw a lot of people's ire. Unlike most of you chumps out there, I'm not talking about the people that are on the chat or you, Gerald, or your town or your neighbor. I'm talking about the chumps that maybe might see this down the road that have that habit of talking just stupid or nonsense. I pay attention to what goes on. And we allow ourselves, not me, I'm talking society, we allow ourselves to continue to hear the same stupid horseshit and just assume that it's what it is, just so we don't create conflict. No one wants to say, hold on a second. You guys have been saying this every year for the last 25 years. Is it really that? Is it really that? Because the evidence says no. Are you trying to tell me that the Golden State Warriors are the reason why you want to do this? Because look what happened to Golden State. They drafted Steph, they drafted Clay, they drafted Draymond. But they didn't become a dynasty until Durant arrived. Right?
Yes.
So when you see, here's where you got to be careful if you're going to talk. If you're going to talk, make sure you come with the information. Why were the Lakers winning championships? Why were the San Antonio Spurs winning championships? Why were the Miami Heat winning championships? And why weren't New York being competitive? Why wasn't Chicago being competitive? So if you're going to keep telling us that the small market teams are crying about whatever, well, what's going on, let's say, in New Orleans? How come every time they get a big star over there, they can't seem to keep them? And I'm talking about when the New Orleans Pelicans were also the New Orleans Hornets, and then before then, the first aberration of the Charlotte Hornets. They had Larry Johnson. They had Alonzo Mourning. Where does those guys end up going? Alonzo ended up bolting from Miami. Larry Johnson ended up going to New York, although that was more kind of injury reasons as well. Then they go to the Pelicans. Who do they draft in 2012? They draft Anthony Davis. Who did they got another first overall pick, and they got Zion Williamson. So, and how come it's not working? You know, all these small market teams keep yapping about, oh, we don't have a chance, we don't have a chance, we don't have a chance. Well, you keep getting these guys, and you're not doing anything with them. Minnesota Timberwolves, you had Kevin Garnett for almost a decade and a half. Didn't do shit. Charlotte Hornets, the new ones, can't draft to save their life. How many top 5 picks, 3 picks are they going to get until they finish this act? Orlando had Shaq, lost him. Penny, lost him, although that was more injury. You had Dwight Howard, lost him. No one told you to not lose these guys. You guys lost them. So what exactly are they doing this for? Is it that? I don't believe it. And if it is about that, then Adam Silver, it's clearly that he's submitting to his bosses, I guess. But why aren't the big I guess I don't know. Maybe they don't give a damn. I don't know. Does James Dolan care? Does James Dolan or Jeannie Buss go into those owners' meetings and say, listen, all you small market teams keep yapping about not having the opportunity. Is anybody saying things that I'm saying? Because I know that they have access to that kind of information, don't they? Even if they don't remember it. Don't they have lackeys that can get that information for them? Why? I want to know why. But
once again,
no one asks these questions. No one talks about this stuff because they're worried about offending and they're worried about not getting access. So how about we do this? We're in a different world now. We can get on TV. We can get online at any time we want. We don't need some radio producer or some anything to let us in here. Now, Google is obviously the head of this because they own YouTube. But as long as you're not saying bad things about weird things, you're probably okay, right?
Yes.
Good. We're not weird, and we're not going to say bad things about weird things. We're going to stick to sports. So, my question to you, Gerald, is how long are we going to keep going with these fallacies? I'd like to know.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break, Lakers History 101. It is Joe Soro along with me, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much again for listening. Truly appreciate it. It's Professor Joe Soro and me, Dean Gerald Glassford. Thank you, class, for your attention. Truly appreciate it. To answer your question, Joe, as long as the money keeps rolling, and then this is something that you and I have discussed before, as long as the money keeps rolling in, the thought process for the NBA will continue as is. But the thing I wanted to mention, again, this is based off our idea in class today as far as what we wanted to talk about, is in regards to Adrian Wojnarowski, who is leaving ESPN to become the general manager for basketball operations for St. Bonaventure University. And I wish him all the best and thank him for his contributions over the years. Again, love him or hate him, he has contributed to some of the major news stories over the last decade plus, whether he was with Yahoo, whether it was ESPN, whatever outlet he was working for, he was always able to seem to get the best news on the NBA sooner than virtually anyone else. But I want to ask you this, Joe. The first major news story, and there's a good article that just came out today on MSN. I'm going to get the link here, and I'm also going to put it in the description for today's video. One of the 7 greatest Woj bombs that were rated by MSN.com. 2 of them are Lakers related, as far as really Lakers related, directly Lakers related. The first one I want you to answer is a very tough one for you, and you hopefully someday we'll get with Empire Jeff on this, because you guys have said that there's a little bit more behind the scenes than obviously we've been told, and maybe Adrian Wojnarowski would also know some of those things that were going on behind the scenes in regards to this. And that was NBA commissioner, then NBA commissioner David Stern, killing the Chris Paul Lakers trade. He was the first to report it when he was with Yahoo. So let me ask you this, Joe. When Adrian Wojnarowski, you've already been on the air and told us exactly how you found out about the Chris Paul trade getting killed. You were actually on the radio at the time. But Adrian Wojnarowski was the first to report this from Yahoo Sports in regards to Chris Paul trade. Chris Paul never ending up on the Lakers after all.
Yeah, it's the ultimate insult too was the fact that David Stern's continuous effort in helping Donald Sterling added to the salt on the wound. And that's probably where a lot of the disdain was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do you take Chris Paul away, and I've tried to get Jeff to do the show this summer, but Jeff seems to have a pretty tight schedule, I guess. I'll remind him again tonight or tomorrow if we can get there before training camp. But apparently it wasn't. There's a story that it didn't go the way we think it went, and there was supposedly another way that the Lakers could have made it work, but they decided not to do it. Which I don't know. I guess I have to believe the people that are telling me that, because why would they lie? But what it did, let's just say this, because it didn't happen, the Lakers lost out on a era that could have been much different than what it turned out to be. We're talking about right at the cusp of the LeBron Miami run. And you would have had Chris Paul in his prime with a determined Kobe Bryant, who still had a lot of game left. He had 3 years of game left. It was 3 years before he tore his Achilles, and some can say that maybe he doesn't tear his Achilles with Chris Paul there because he wouldn't have had to have killed himself to play as hard as he did because Chris Paul was there. We were robbed of that. Not only Laker fans, but also the NBA. Imagine a Chris Paul, Kobe versus Dwayne Wade, LeBron final. So many things didn't happen that could have happened. And it's unfortunate. That's the part I think about sometimes too. Imagine Kobe winning 6, maybe 7 championships and then riding off to the sun into the sunset. Would have been a totally different career. Chris Paul would have been a champion because I have no doubt that if Chris Paul comes in 2011 and plays with Kobe, they would have won at least one. It's not.
Even that late in his career.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
Kobe needed somebody like Chris Paul. That's the guy he needed. And Chris Paul would have forced Kobe to be in strike mode. So I don't know if you can call this the most famous Woj bomb. We're going to go down the list here a little bit. I know that's the most memorable one for me.
Again, this is in no particular order, and I'm just going to run off some of the non-Lakers ones. Like he was the first one to report the Brooklyn Nets getting the whole gambit between Durant, Irving, and DeAndre Jordan as far as agreeing to in free agency to all come together in Brooklyn, and we saw how that one worked out. He also was the first to report when he was with Yahoo about Oklahoma City trading James Harden to Houston, which, Joe, you and I have talked about before, what could have been in regards to if you were able to stay with the Thunder, if Sam Presti would have had the blessing from ownership to get, into the salary tax and be able to pay what he needed to pay James Harden to keep him there. And like I said, that's also a what could have been right there. He also want to go ahead and mention the other things that he was known for. He did drop the Woj bomb on Paul George heading to the Clippers. And I know a lot of people were here in Las Vegas, a lot of NBA execs, NBA reporters, and there was an earthquake that day as well. So everything just kind of piled up all in one, within a relatively short time, and Woj bomb hit as well. And then, of course, the other major thing that he reported out there was that the NBA was suspending the season due to COVID-19 at the time. But the one I really want to focus on, the last one that I want to focus on of his 7 famous Woj bomb tweets, was on July 1st, 2018, Joe. That was the day LeBron James agreed to terms with the Los Angeles Lakers, and he was the first one to break the news that he had signed a 4-year, $154 million deal. It has now been 6 years, Joe. I know a lot of people out there just got to come to grips with that. 6 years in the LeBron era or LeBron time frame, whatever you want to phrase it as, it's up to you. I know there's LeBron haters. I know there's LeBron lovers out there. And then there's also just NBA fans who just are in the middle, just who appreciate LeBron for what he is and who he is and how he's played the game. But 6 years later, after that tweet by Woj talking about LeBron James agreeing to terms with the Los Angeles Lakers, what in your mind has happened since?
I wouldn't say that was really a Woj bomb. That was already.
It was already heavily rumored, of course. It was heavily
So
speculated.
I'd say his best one in the last 5 years was the Kawhi Leonard drop.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most. That was probably the best Woj bomb. We were. I know. I remember. I was online pretty much all week. It was obsessive. And we were just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. Rumor says Kawhi is going to the Lakers. Rumors saying, oh, he might go stay in Toronto. All these talks. Another culture shifting decision by Kawhi. Imagine if Kawhi had gone to the Lakers, how different this LeBron era run would have been. How different Kawhi would have been. Kawhi would have likely won 3 championships with 3 teams. He would have likely been able to not kill himself. I keep saying kill himself. He wouldn't have had to exert as much energy.
Mhm.
And I feel that had he gone to the Lakers, he would have probably won 2. I think they would have won 2 for sure.
Mhm.
And that to me is the biggest bomb because of the effect, because of the ripple effect and the mystery and ripple effect. Biggest Woj bomb the last 5 years was Kawhi Leonard.
Okay.
And
Again,
then you look back and forget about the Lakers for a second. You look back at the Clippers and how catastrophic that sequence ended up being. They end up losing a possible future MVP so they could appease Kawhi Leonard, only to have that piece to appease Kawhi Leonard bolt eventually with nothing to show for it.
well, I'll tell you what, though, when he did report, again, what was heavily speculated on, and they were watching where the planes were landing, I think, at that point in time, trying to figure out exactly where he was going to go. And he did report that LeBron had come to an agreement of terms with Los Angeles Lakers. It was not unexpected because, again, we were thinking that he wanted to go Hollywood, and he did. But in doing so, LeBron, in the 6 years since, he has created a lot of, renewed energy in the news cycle through ESPN, through Woj, through Shams, through the different news cycle, just because the Lakers, again, it is an edict in ESPN. They've admitted it on air. They'll tell you straight to your face. They are told as a collective that they have to prioritize the Lakers just because of the sheer fan base that follows them. And I understand there are NBA fans out there that say, oh man, why are they prioritizing the Lakers? Well, look, the Lakers generate interest. The Lakers generate revenue. The Lakers generate ratings. Why are they on 37 times on national television this upcoming season? It's because they're the Los Angeles Lakers, Joe. And Woj understood that. He understood the importance of focusing on the Los Angeles Lakers. So many times he talked about, even in the past year, with the Lakers coaching search, the issues with the Lakers, as far as you can hear it in his commentary. It's an edict by ESPN, but he helped to drive that focus with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah. What are they going to talk about? The Milwaukee Bucks?
Well, I mean, it's
Denver
NBA
Nuggets.
fans around the world. They don't want to see so many Lakers. I hear it and see it all the time.
Yeah, you're talking about a franchise that has won from the moment the league has existed. They won so much. They've won so much. They won a title that they didn't let count from the league that they came from. That's how much the Lakers have won since they've been in existence. And then you look at the rosters that the Lakers have had in the years. Almost every player the Lakers have had built the NBA. So, of course, the LA Lakers are going to be story number one. They're the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA in terms of popularity. Prioritizing this, I think people live in a world of stupidness so much. They don't realize how stupid their comments are sometimes. Oh, by the way, they also have LeBron James, who is this era's greatest player. Of course, they're going to talk about the Lakers. And before that was 20 years of Kobe Bryant. Before that, with a 3-year break, it was Magic Johnson. Of course, they're going to talk about the damn Lakers. The Lakers have had 4, count them, 4, well, actually 5 iconic players in the last 40 years play for the Lakers. When I say iconic, I'm talking about the upper echelon, the Kobe, the Shaq, the Magic, the Kareem, those guys, like the top 10 guys of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? And oh, by the way, they've won 11 championships in that span. That means every 4 years, the Lakers are winning a championship. So not only are they relevant based off the all-world talent they have, they also win every 4 years on the average for the last 5 decades. Yeah. So yeah, you're going to be ahead of that. Now, Woj's bomb, when it was in its prime, was about just that feeling of euphoria when you found out. And it was at a time where it wasn't like it is now, where everyone was involved. He had the inside track. People had Twitter, people were on Twitter, but they weren't really engaged like they are now. So he was that guy. He kind of created that buzz because of his ability to drop this news and you being like, what? Yes, I found it. I'm following this guy and I heard it first, because ESPN, for years, ESPN was our news source, or CNN Sports was our news source. Now it's this guy who's getting that information, 4 hours before ESPN confirms it usually?
Yes.
Yeah. So he did his job. He did it well. And the NBA, in its confusion, completely eliminated two of the most special times of the year for its league, so that they can listen to small market owners bitch and whine why that no one wants to go play for them.
Once again, it is Professor Joe Soro, along with Joe Glassford, Dean of Studies here at Lakers Fast Break University. This is Lakers History 101. Thanks so much again for joining us. We're honoring Adrian Wojnarowski, who announced earlier today that he is retiring from ESPN to go become the general manager of basketball operations at St. Bonaventure University. I think you hit on it, Joe, when it comes to his rise in success from Yahoo to ESPN also predicates itself on the rise of importance and reliance for us as a culture, as a species, to become really reliant on social media platforms and the news, whether it's true, untrue, whatever. Just the way we consume information has changed and evolved dramatically in the past, I'll say 15 years. You could say even more. I wouldn't argue with you on that, but let's just give it 15 years for a nice clean number. And in those 15 years, individuals such as Adrian Wojnarowski have come to the forefront as far as individuals a lot of people rely on in order to go ahead and get their news from. In fact, there's a subset of aggregators, reporters, whole bunch of individuals out there that are probably sad today that he is leaving, Joe, because it's so funny. Even in ESPN, when you'd see like a Dave McMenamin or another reporter from another team or whatnot reporting, it wasn't always them reporting. It was Wojnarowski giving you the story, but they would have to go ahead and give the local reporters some credit too, to give some they get the rub. Like Adrian Wojnarowski along with Dave McMenamin, or Adrian Wojnarowski along with whatever local reporter that covers that particular NBA team. So it's interesting to see that now the focus, unless they get Sham Charania somehow in there or someone that can take Woj's place, it will be interesting to see how ESPN handles it, because the local reporters in a lot of occasions have not been able to get these scoops, these news reports in the way that Adrian Wojnarowski has done for the past 10 plus years. You're on mute, sir. Professor.
He built his credibility and made relationships with the general managers and the media in and around those cities, and this is what the result was. Osmosis Jones. That's another fallacy, by the way. This constant nonsense about small market owners complaining about billionaires having one up on them. I want you to answer me this question. How many championships have the Clippers won in the last 50 years?
Okay.
Exactly.
Crickets.
Nothing. And I'm going to use the last 5 years as a barometer. How many finals appearances have the Clippers gone to in the last 5 years?
Did you say West Conference Championships?
No, finals. I don't give a shit about Western Conference Finals. Finals. At least a finals appearance.
Yes. Well, there you go. More crickets.
Okay. How long has Ballmer owned the Clippers?
Well, if you're dealing with one of Adrian Wojnarowski's tweets, you can actually trace it back. And I did put the article, a link in the description below.
And
So
I
you can
know
go
you
ahead and take a
did.
look.
So tell me.
That would be 2014.
There you go.
Right there. That's
Mr.
10 years, everyone.
Mr. Ballmer has owned the Clippers for 10 years. How many championships or finals appearances have the Clippers gone to?
More crickets.
Okay. How many small market teams have gone to the finals or won in those 10 years? Let's look. 2014, you had San Antonio win the championship. 15, you had Cleveland. 16, Cleveland. 17, Cleveland. 19, you had Toronto and San Francisco. So those are two, 2020 at Miami and LA, two big markets. 2021, Milwaukee and Phoenix. 2022, big markets, San Francisco and Boston. 2023, Denver. Not a big market, but not a small market either. Beating who? Big market, Miami. 2024, Boston beating Dallas. Pretty big markets. So you got a nice little mix in there, but a lot of small market teams since Ballmer has owned the Clippers. And in that time, the New Orleans Pelicans, Hornets, whatever the hell they call themselves, have had 2 first overall picks. Minnesota have had 2 first overall picks. I don't know how many top 3 picks the Hornets have had. I don't know how many top picks Orlando has had. Cleveland's had a few first-round picks in that time. One good one horribly bad one. Actually, no, that was the year before. Sorry. Those are a couple years before with Kyrie and Anthony, what's his name? Went blank all of a sudden. The big bomb in 2013, Anthony Bennett. So, yeah.
UNLV.
So, yeah. Guys, it's not the fallacy of the small market teams can't compete with the Bombers and the billionaires. Folks, James Dolan has more money than God. What have the Knicks done since 1974? That's 50 years. You know what they've done, Gerald? You know what the big bad Knicks have done? I'm going to educate you all, right? This is Lakers 101, but it's also, correlating with the discussion because sometimes the students ask a question, you got to answer.
Absolutely.
Folks, the New York Knicks, the city and the state of New York, basketball mecca, right? That's where all the ballers come from. It's another fallacy, by the way. Some of them come out of New York. A lot of good ones come out of New York. But that's not the only spot. Now, since 1974, that's 50 years ago, you want to know what the Knicks have done, this big bad market, the number one market on the planet, has done. They've gone to 2 NBA finals and lost both. That's it. That is it. They won championships. They didn't go on a run where they went back to back. So what's their excuse? What's James Dolan? Granted, I don't think James Dolan owned them in 1974, but what is their excuse? See, guys, you got to pay attention to the details. You really got to pay attention to the details. Because if you just mouth off what everyone else says online, you're going to turn into the same dumbski that those people online are. And 90% of the people online are useless to society. Useless, less than useless. Don't get me wrong. People are hilarious online too. Props to them. A lot of funny comments. I laugh. Love YouTube comments on a good video. 100%. Some of y'all are comedians out there. But when it comes down to information that's correct, too many of you pay attention to whatever's tweeting or YouTubing or Facebooking, and you just regurgitate that somewhere else. Don't do that, because then an a-hole like me is going to come out of the woodwork and tell you that you're a jackass, and then you're going to get offended, and then you're not going to pay attention to what I'm saying, and then you're just going to continue on to believe what you think is going on when it's not.
So with that, Joe, the one thing I want to ask you is, again, Adrian Wojnarowski retiring, I think it does leave a mark. I think it does leave some history, because he was definitely, at least the modern history of the game and how we consume news and information. He is intertwined with that as far as that's concerned. I really think that he does have even of what you say is a small role in shaping the culture of the NBA for the past 15 years. And with that, again, I just think that he has helped transform, for better or for worse, a news cycle into a different way we consume NBA news. So now we are trained, Joe, whether we like it or not, to go ahead and now wait with our beaten breath what exactly we're going to go ahead and check out Twitter, refreshing Twitter for the next Woj bomb. Who, during the draft, it was a competition always between Woj and Shams who would get the next pick first, with Woj or Shams getting that exclusive deal first, sometimes from agents. I've seen Shams glad hand. I told you about the time that I saw Shams Charania and how he interacts and how he networks with people, even in a short time frame of a halftime scenario. He's out there shaking hands, getting to know people. I've spoken to individuals behind the scenes as far as how he interacts and how Shams does the way things that he does. And wouldn't you know, Joe, who is the protege of, or I should say, who is the teacher of the protege that was Shams Charania? None other than Adrian Wojnarowski, as both were part of the Yahoo umbrella at one time, until it went south with both and they became direct competitors with each other. So again, for everything that we say and everything out there that, whether you love or hate him, Joe, Adrian Wojnarowski's history will always be intertwined as far as the modern NBA is concerned.
Yeah, the modern NBA is different than when Woj was in his prime. It changed. It changed the last 2 years. I'm sure that if Adam Silver and the NBA didn't ruin their own league in respects of the excitement of the deadline and also free agency, I don't think he'd be going to St. Bonaventure right now. I believe he would have been staying exactly where he is. But there's
Okay.
nothing. What has happened the last 2 seasons in free agency? It's actually more like 3. The summer of Durant, right? Remember Durant in 2022?
2000. Yeah. And
Yeah,
he reported on it.
him doing what he did completely derailed free agency to the point where no one did anything that summer, and that was the beginning of the end of free agency. And then the deadline has been a snooze fest since.
The year that he moved to Golden State, which he reported on as well, one of the first to report on that, where he, because of the big spike in the salary cap for that year, was able to go ahead and find his way to Golden State. And obviously he benefited from a couple championships there, but he couldn't stay with that because he felt it hurt his legacy and moved on from there. But yeah, it just, again, some of the things that he has been able to report on over the course of his career, we've seen it and we've become reliant on it. In fact, outside of Cool Bro, everybody in the audience there knows what a Woj bomb is and knows what a Woj bomb is all about. It's almost a part of our NBA vernacular, Joe. And in a way, I'll kind of miss it. In a way, I'll kind of miss it quite a bit.
Yeah, it's was a good time. He was the top dog in that, and the only constant in life is change, and we're gonna have to find something more exciting now to watch, because it really started with LeBron and the decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was that took the scale in terms of free agency or the star moving into a different stratosphere. Before then, I think it was Shaq. I think it was Shaq in '96 and then LeBron in 2010, the two biggest players of their time that shifted the league due to their free agency decisions, even though Miami and Cleveland actually did a trade to help each other out. It's technically a trade, but it was a decision on LeBron's part to decide to move, and that was that decision got so many people in an uproar that I'm still trying to understand what the big deal was. Why did people who weren't Miami fans or Cleveland fans care? See, that's how you know people are weak. When you're affected by some guy or some lady doing something that has no bearing on anybody's life, real life, and you're not even you don't have any skin in the game. Kind of reminds me of what was going on with Patrick Mahomes last year, because Patrick Mahomes wins too much, right?
Yeah.
People don't like when you win too much because people get jealous. They don't want you to win and have everything. So you started hearing things like, oh, he's this, arrogant, blah, blah, blah. And they start criticizing his wife, and they start criticizing the Chiefs, and they start criticizing the refs and all this. This is what losers do. This is what prime A losers who don't do anything with their lives do. And 90% of them are online talking. And I'm talking to those people who are listening right now. You are a loser. You suck ass when you do stuff like that. Prove me wrong.
So with the final 10 minutes in our class, Joe, as once again, you are a part of Lakers Fast Break University. Thank you, Klaus, for attending. Truly appreciate it. It is Lakers History 101. We were talking about and reflecting back on some of the biggest Woj bombs in Laker history, part of Adrian Wojnarowski's reporting over the past few years as he now retires from ESPN and now becomes a general manager for the basketball operations for St. Bonaventure University. And we wish him the best of luck on that. Let me ask you this, Joe, Professor. Shams Charania, his name instantly came to mind because he works for a couple different outlets, athletic, and I think also a betting site as well. He works on a couple different ventures for him, but it's not the big ticket. It's not ESPN. So there is the thought process that the NBA can't do without a big, newsbreaker of some type because of Chris Wallace has also been named as well as far as someone that they may have interest in, but he's attached to Turner Sports. Could bring back Mark Stein, a name that you and I probably remember from back in the day. I don't know if he'd want to come back because I know he I think it was part of a mass layoff, I think, at ESPN at one time. Him and Chad Ford, from what I remember. But I want to ask you this. Who replaces Adrian Wojnarowski? Because ESPN has got to have that Adam Schefter type name, that newsbreaker type individual for their programs.
They're going to find a new guy. And also, what are they going to break? What news break are they going to make? Oh, so-and-so just signed a Supermax deal with his own team. What's been earth-shattering news in the NBA the last 3 years?
Allow us.
I don't know. What, James Harden making his fourth trade demand?
The CBA has been more of a
CBA, yeah. The CBA, if you're gonna continue to make everything about more money. Okay, yeah, they got what they wanted. That's why they did it, for the money. That's all anybody gives a shit about. Money. It's never enough. Okay. You keep watching though, so they don't give a shit.
And if that's the case, though, who, in your opinion, would you like to see fill that slot?
I don't give a shit. Those
you
guys.
Don't care.
I've never really understood the point of finding out information 4 seconds before the news is out anyways.
Yeah. Fair enough. Again, whether it's Shams Charania or, again, somebody else coming in there, or internally, they'll put someone into that spotlight who now has to glad hand
It'll be someone new.
People.
I'm pretty positive.
Do you think it'll be someone fresh, someone new?
It'll be someone fresh, yes.
Okay.
I don't believe they're going to use Chris Haynes or Chris Ford. I didn't even know Chris Ford was still in the business. You're not going to use Jim Rome. You're going to use Colin Cowherd.
No, Chad Ford's no longer in the business, but yeah. Mark Stein is. Mark Stein is. That's
Mark
the name.
Stein. And a lot of those guys, they all have the same names, minus a couple letters.
Again, it's going to be the work's cut out for him in that individual, whether it's man or woman, as far as being able to be that individual that people will come to know and trust, as far as bringing that NBA type of information. And the one thing I can say about Adrian Wojnarowski is, on a lot of occasions, he was right. Most occasions, he was right. The one slip up, though, I think for us, was recently, this past summer, with the Dan Hurley things, as far as he was leading viewers and audiences really into the fact that he thought it was a done deal for the Lakers being able to sign him. And then it turned out to be the case. So we were on this show when we talked about him and Shams and all the other newsbreakers and all the other reporters who had a lot of egg on their face because they had just assumed that Dan Hurley was going to roll over and sign that contract and become the Lakers coach. and it didn't work out that way. But for the most part, Adrian Wojnarowski, yes, he has been able to get it first, but he has a pretty high percentage, Joe. Again, love him or hate him, of getting it right.
Getting what right?
The news that he reports first, because as we know in the news cycle that's out there,
he gets it right because they tell him before anybody else.
Well, I'm just telling you what he reports out there to the public.
Okay.
So I was okay. So I was just getting you to agree.
He's just breaking news that he gets before anybody.
And you've called him a mouthpiece to the agents. You've called him a mouthpiece to the general managers. Yes, I get that. And I understand. And a lot of that is that.
There's a small thing that might have happened where maybe those guys were all starting to break their commitment to him, maybe. And maybe that's why he wanted to quit. Because we started noticing how Shams kept saying things and they weren't coming true. So were they doing that to Woj too? But Woj didn't act on it because Shams is so eager to get things out.
Well, the Dan Hurley thing, again, I thought
for sports, it's okay. You know, it's sports. It doesn't matter if they're wrong, really. I mean, it's bad for their business, but it's sports. It's not going to hurt anybody's livelihood. You know, groceries won't triple because LeBron goes to Miami or whatever, right? It's only bad when these guys want to get at it first instead of getting it right when it's involving your life, news that matters. So they have that going for them. And maybe Woj has more, I don't know, maybe Woj has more ethics to it. He's like, look, I'm not getting the information I want. I'm not going to be saying something, all of a sudden find out that somebody does a 180 on me. You know, Woj was not. Oh, that's a good one, Easy. Peter Vesey was a very disliked guy in the 90s. He always had a condescending tone to his information, and he was always very negative. He should have worked for the LA Times because that's all the LA Times were. LA Times were the Kobe hating newspaper. I remember, and I used to get very irritated by why they just would always hate Kobe Bryant. I don't know if he treated them like crap and he didn't care. What I don't get is Larry Bird used to be just as ornery in the 80s and they still loved him. So I don't know. It's weird. LA is weird like that.
Well, I want to thank Professor Joe Soro for stopping by and all the students for stopping by. I also want to give a big shout out to Sunday for asking for a Lakers History 101, and we were able to comply. Also, Douglas on the email, he had a lot of interesting suggestions, I will say. I forwarded it over to Joe, and we were looking at it, and there's some interesting Lakers scandals, I think, that really would take a lot of investigating. So want maybe to hold that off for another day, but we'll wait and see. But once again, it is Lakers History 101. Truly appreciate you joining us. We'll be back here most likely tomorrow for more good Lakers talk out there. If you have any questions for us, always LakersFastBreaker@yahoo.com, or put your comments down below on YouTube. And then, of course, always make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. And once again, truly appreciate all the special members of the fraternity known as the Lakers membership class. Truly cannot thank you enough for being a part of what we do each and every time out. Again, big shout outs to members, and you can become a member today, just like Samir, just like JSJ, Kurt Affair, Darren, Sports Baby, Richard, Bloodhound, and of course, Xbox. Truly appreciate all of you guys as part of the fraternity of the Lakers Fast Break. Truly cannot thank you enough. So, $7,000 Curry to the Lakers will never happen. I don't even know what.
Yeah, what is this Curry to the Lakers stuff?
He's just joking. He's just trying to troll, doing a bad job of it. But again, it's some student back in the corner, not paying attention, probably trying to throw a paper airplane. But it is, of course, Joe Soro, Professor Joe Soro, along with me, the Dean of Studies here at Lakers Fast Break University, Gerald Glassford. Did you graduate? Yes, class is still in session. We'll be having more classes and another graduation ceremony in the future so that we will get all of you guys and gals out there checking us out each and every time out for more great stuff for Lakers History 101 and everything that we do right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.